Ever think about being in charge of a whole passenger train?
Hmm.
But, like, not the driving part.
Oh,
You're responsible for making sure everything runs smoothly.
got it.
That's the chief conductor.
Yeah.
And we're going deep into what this career is really all about.
It's a fascinating job.
Yeah.
It's a blend of keeping things running smoothly and knowing how to handle people really well.
Exactly.
Like you said, making sure everyone is safe,
Yeah.
dealing with any problems that pop up,
Right.
and making sure the passengers are comfortable.
It's a lot more than just tickets and timetables.
Oh, absolutely.
And the information we have goes way beyond the typical job description.
Right.
We've got reports, career guides, even stories from real conductors.
Interesting.
So we're going way beyond just scratching the surface here.
Sounds good.
We want to give you that deep dive understanding.
Yeah.
So where do we start?
Oh,
Yeah.
let's break down what a chief conductor actually does every day.
Okay.
The RoleCatcher guide we have does a good job explaining this.
Okay.
So, first and foremost, safety is paramount.
Makes sense.
They're responsible for making sure things like the doors are working correctly
Okay.
and for handling any emergencies
Right, right.
and just generally making sure the passengers are safe and sound.
So they're like a guardian angel on wheels,
Yes, exactly.
but one that's got a rule book.
Yeah, exactly. They have to stick to all the railway regulations.
Okay.
They're also the go-to person for anything to do with tickets.
Okay.
They provide information to the passengers.
Right, right.
And, believe it or not, they even handle something called gastronomic services.
Gastronomic services.
Yeah.
That sounds a little fancy for a snack cart.
Right.
What does that actually mean?
So basically, they make sure that any food and drinks being served on the train run without a hitch.
Okay.
That could involve managing the inventory,
Okay.
working with the catering companies,
Right.
and making sure everything meets hygiene standards.
So it's all about that passenger experience,
Exactly, yeah.
making sure they're comfortable and happy.
Right, remember, that's a big part of their role.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So it's not just about the train itself.
right,
They're dealing with the whole experience for the people on board.
exactly.
It's way more than I initially thought.
And this actually reflects a bigger trend in the whole passenger train industry.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, there's more and more focus on both safety and customer service these days.
Okay.
It's not enough to just get people from point A to point B anymore.
Interesting.
It's about the whole journey.
Right. The whole experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
A happy passenger is more likely to choose the train again, right?
Exactly.
Now, the guide also mentions something else interesting.
Okay.
It talks about how the chief conductor has to communicate directly with both the driver and traffic control.
Yeah, that's a key responsibility.
That sounds pretty high pressure.
Absolutely, like the crucial link. They make sure the train runs safely and efficiently.
Right.
So they're constantly relaying important information,
Okay.
coordinating between different teams,
Right.
and handling any unexpected issues that come up.
So, like, imagine there's a medical emergency on board.
Yeah.
The chief conductor would be the one talking to the driver,
Right.
contacting emergency services,
Exactly.
and then managing everything once the train stops.
Yeah, they have to handle a lot.
Wow. That's a lot to juggle.
It is.
It's amazing how that one job needs, like, a perfect mix of technical know-how and people skills.
Yeah.
You'd have to stay calm in a crisis,
Right.
be a clear communicator,
Absolutely.
a natural problem solver,
Yep.
and all while making sure potentially hundreds of passengers are safe and sound.
That's the job.
Hmm.
And that shows in how you actually become a chief conductor.
Okay.
It's not something you just jump into right away.
So how does someone get started in this field?
Yeah.
How do you climb aboard the career express, so to speak?
The guide you've got lays out the different stages.
Right.
It starts with those entry-level positions,
Okay.
like being a trainee conductor.
Okay.
That's where you get that hands-on experience.
Yay.
You shadow more experienced conductors.
Right.
You learn how everything works.
So it's like learning the tracks
Exactly.
before you can conduct the train.
Right.
What's next?
Then you move up to junior conductor.
Okay.
You've got more responsibility at that point.
Okay.
You might even handle small incidents on your own.
Wow.
You might even lead a small team.
Right.
It's a chance to use what you've learned
Yeah.
and work on your problem-solving skills in real situations.
So still under supervision, but starting to make decisions.
Yeah.
On a smaller scale.
Exactly.
And then you move on to senior conductor.
Right.
That's the next step.
That's where you've really mastered the job.
Okay.
You're the one they go to for the really tough stuff.
Okay.
You're mentoring the junior staff,
Right.
and you're basically making sure everything runs without a hitch on any train you're on.
So like conducting a whole orchestra.
Yeah, you got it.
All those moving parts.
Exactly.
And then finally, after years of experience, you reach the chief conductor position.
That's right.
They're not just managing one train anymore, are they?
No, they're setting the bar for the whole team,
Okay.
making sure everyone's following all the safety rules,
Right.
and they're in charge of making sure everything runs efficiently
Okay.
for a whole section or a route.
So they've gone from one train to the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is.
Speaking of challenges, though,
Yeah.
the guide listed the pros and cons of this career.
Right?
And there were a couple things that made me laugh.
Oh, yeah.
It said something about creative expression
Uh-huh.
and working with talented musicians.
Sounds familiar.
I'm still chuckling about that.
It seems like our system got a little confused.
Yeah.
It pulled some details from orchestra conductor by mistake. Yeah. Easy mistake to make, though, right?
Yeah, I guess they do kind of orchestrate a complicated system,
That's true.
making sure everything works in harmony.
It's just a slightly less musical kind of harmony, I guess.
Right. So, besides the imaginary orchestra,
Right.
what are the real pros and cons here?
Yeah,
What are the good and bad parts of being a chief conductor?
One of the biggest positives is job security.
Oh, yeah.
The demand for passenger trains is going up.
Okay.
And this guide from the Bureau of Labor Statistics,
Right.
it says that growth is going to continue for years.
So that's good news if you're thinking about this as a career.
It really is.
What about day-to-day?
Well,
what makes the job satisfying?
A lot of conductors really like the passenger interaction.
Oh,
Being
yeah.
able to help people,
Right.
making sure they have a good trip.
Right.
It can be really rewarding.
I bet it's also satisfying knowing you're such a big part of making a complex system work.
Yeah.
Keeping everything on schedule.
Absolutely.
Making sure those trains arrive on time.
Right on time.
That's gotta feel good.
Definitely.
And let's not forget how dynamic the job is.
Right.
Every day is different.
It is.
You're meeting all kinds of people.
That's for sure.
And you constantly have to think on your feet.
Right.
It's definitely not boring.
Not at all.
It doesn't sound like a job for everyone, though.
It's not.
The guide did mention some downsides.
It did.
Like the hours can be irregular.
Yeah, that can be tough.
You might have to deal with stressful situations.
Definitely.
And you're responsible for the safety of all those passengers.
That's a big one.
That's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot to handle.
it is.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not.
There was that one story in the material you gave me.
No way.
A conductor was talking about their experience.
Uh-huh.
They had to deal with a track fault.
Right during rush hour.
Oh, gosh.
Can you imagine?
That sounds like a nightmare.
It was.
So happened.
Well, they had to think fast. They had to keep talking to the driver
Right.
and the control center.
Okay.
And they had to keep hundreds of passengers calm,
Right.
let them know what was going on,
Right.
and all while making sure they were safe.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
it was a high-pressure situation.
I bet.
But they got everyone off safely onto a backup train.
Wow.
No injuries.
That's amazing.
It is remarkable.
It takes a special kind of person to stay calm in that situation.
Yeah, you have to be able to handle the pressure.
And make quick decisions.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
let's talk about the specific skills you need
Okay.
to be a successful chief conductor.
Sounds good.
What does it take to excel in this field?
Well, we've touched on it a bit already.
Right?
It's a mix of hard skills and soft skills.
Okay.
On the technical side,
Mm-hmm.
you need to really know your stuff when it comes to railway system,
Makes sense.
safety procedures,
Right.
all those operational protocols.
Oh, okay.
You got to know the nuts and bolts of the job.
Right. You need that strong foundation.
Exactly.
But we talked about those soft skills earlier, too.
Absolutely.
Those are just as
And
important.
they're crucial.
And communication is at the top of the list.
Right, sure.
A chief conductor has to be a clear communicator.
Right.
They've got to talk to the driver, traffic control, their team,
Yeah.
and, of course, the passengers.
Especially when things get stressful.
Exactly, because staying calm,
Yeah.
that can really help keep things under control.
Absolutely. Keep everyone safe.
What other soft skills are we talking about?
So it's communication.
Problem solving is a big one.
Okay.
Things can change fast on a train.
Right.
So you have to be able to think on your feet,
Right.
make good decisions when you're under pressure,
Okay.
and be ready to adjust to anything.
Right, right.
You're like a mobile problem solver.
And it probably really helps to have some experience to draw on,
Oh, absolutely.
like that conductor we were talking about earlier.
The one who dealt with that track fault.
It's not just about what you know in those situations.
Yeah.
It's about how you handle them.
Exactly.
Okay, so you want to know how to actually get started in this field.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
The RoleCatcher guide suggest a couple of things.
Okay.
First, you could look for entry-level jobs,
Okay.
things like train conductor,
Okay.
or maybe even customer service roles within a railway company.
Right, so you get your foot in the door,
Exactly.
start building that experience.
That hands-on experience is really valuable.
What about certifications?
Yeah, good question.
Do you need those to be a chief conductor?
They're not always required,
Okay.
but they definitely help.
Right, they show you're serious about the job.
Exactly. It shows you're committed to professional development.
Right.
The guide specifically mentions first aid,
Okay.
CPR, railway safety awareness,
Right.
and customer service.
Makes sense.
Those are all really good ones to have.
So you're going above and beyond.
Exactly.
Showing you're prepared.
The guide also talks about some other career paths,
Oh.
jobs that are related but a little different.
Like what?
Things like passenger fare controller,
Okay.
or even a bus driver.
Interesting. Why include those?
Well, it's because a lot of the skills you learned as a chief conductor,
Right.
they could be used in other jobs too.
Oh, they're transferable.
Exactly.
So you're not stuck in one specific role.
Right.
You're learning things like communication, problem solving, leadership,
Yep.
customer service.
All those skills are in high demand.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a good thing to keep in mind.
Especially these days.
For sure.
So even if being a chief conductor doesn't work out,
Yeah,
this experience could lead to other opportunities.
absolutely.
Okay, before we wrap things up here,
Yeah.
I've got one last question.
Yep.
We've been talking a lot about passenger trains,
Right.
but what about freight trains?
Oh, interesting.
Is that a whole other thing?
It is a whole other world.
Is there even such a thing as a chief conductor for freight trains?
Good question.
And if there is, what's different about it?
That's something to think about.
Yeah.
We've only scratched the surface here.
Right.
There's a lot more to discover about trains.
So this deep dive,
Yeah,
it's just the beginning.
exactly.
It's fascinating to think about how complex this whole system is,
It really is.
both passenger and freight.
For sure.
And chief conductors play such a big role.
They keep everything running smoothly.
It's a job most people don't really think about,
Right.
but it's so important.
It's
It affects our everyday lives.
Definitely.
So yeah, we encourage you to learn more.
There's a lot out there.
And until next time,
Yes.
thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.